Being 5 o'clock, shortly after 5 o'clock, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Agenda review and disposition.
I'm all set, Madam Chair.
Unless there are any amendments or corrections to the minutes of October 18th, we stand approved as written. Mr. Howland.
On November 14th, you have your committee meetings, and they begin at 5 o'clock and work their way down. At 6 o'clock, I'm wondering if the board is willing to stay, and board members who aren't on the committees or aren't available. But I'd like to bring the architect in, Chris Solomon and Ward, to go over the proposal for the CTE Center. Not only will it be a schematic of what we've come up with, but also a working budget, so you can take a look at the bottom line and how federal aid offsets a certain percentage of it. So, would that be all right? So
yes.
You don't have to come out another night. We'll do the 3 regular committees, and then at 6, the architects will be.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you.
And can Michelle let those folks who aren't here know? Just
We sure
send them
will.
an email.
Yep.
That would be great. Thank you.
And everything else I have, Madam Chair, is further down on the agenda.
All right. Well, we have a new student rep, Reed Leclerc. Leclerc.
Thank you.
Thank you, Reed Leclerc, who is a senior this year. So if we want to start with Ross and just introduce ourselves.
We had just met. I'm Ross Beachman.
I'm Peter Pettengill from Campton. Walt Goody from Thornton.
Melinda Johnston from Thornton.
I'm Maureen Ebner from Plymouth.
And Catherine Hahn from Ashland.
It's okay, you don't have to write.
You know Joe.
You know me.
Barbara Noyes from Plymouth. Bernie Sullivan from London.
I am Sam Brickley from Horace.
And what town are you from?
I live in Campton.
So if you would like to give us a report, please, Reed.
Absolutely. Should I go from here?
Sure. Fine with us.
All right, so first I'll start with the activities of the Student Senate. We are currently looking at expanding the school's recycling efforts. We are focusing on increasing the coverage of our recycling, increasing student awareness of recycling, and perhaps looking into how recycling is handled on the back end. Currently, all we know that concerns the board regarding that is that we're likely going to need to invest in more recycling bins and perhaps regular trash cans in order to make sure that the two are paired up properly. As for school events, the school musical, South Pacific, will be playing on November 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th. Our football team has made the playoffs. It is a home game this Saturday. Grades for quarter 1 close tomorrow on Wednesday the 2nd. Our Quiz Bowl team had a meet at Hanover last Saturday. A team scored 9-1, B team scored 5-5, and C team scored 2-8. They will also have another meeting this Saturday at Harvard University. Our math team met Wednesday, October 17th. Our A team came in first place. They're leading by a margin of, I believe it's over 45 points, although I don't have exact numbers. We will be meeting again on November 16th, another Wednesday. The hockey season is starting soonish. We have sign-ups currently open. And on Thursday, we are sending students to the All New England Choral Festival. The students we are sending are 7 students as follows: Lily Friedman, Christopher Bramer, Carter Euland, Samuel Ebner, Gretchen Dodge, Mackenzie Doyle, and Caitlin Irish. And that concludes my report.
Oh, congratulations to the math team.
Good job. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Parsons.
Did your homework, Reed? Good job.
Yes.
Just to piggyback a couple of things I hadn't shared with Reed. The cheering competition for the NHIA is this Sunday. Plymouth Regional High School goes off at 10:06, and that's at Pinkerton. The other piece that I wanted to fill in that Reed hadn't covered is the play on the 13th. That's our annual Thanksgiving Day cooking for our seniors. Janice has made the necessary arrangements with the numbers. Hopefully, they'll be big. And that'll start at 12 o'clock. And the play at 2, the matinee is at 2. So we also, it's a free matinee for all the seniors, and they seem to really enjoy that activity. And then, of course, the following week, guys, following that is, as Reed said, the grades do close tomorrow. And I'll have those report cards mailed out the beginning of next week. And we have a parent conference night on the 15th. That'll be held on this floor here, same as your school board. Other than that, business as usual. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Ross?
Yes, by chance, I was at the cheerleading contest in Concord to see my granddaughter who competes for Bedford High School. And so I was able to see Plymouth compete in a preliminary match. And they did very well, came in second or third, I can't remember which.
Third.
Third, in their division, and did themselves proud, and so it was neat to see them. I didn't get a chance to speak to anybody, because literally 500 or 600 or 700 kids, parents and coaches and everything there, but they did very well, so.
Good.
Yeah, it's a big deal because it's all the schools, so they'll be close to, 1,500 people. And they're extremely talented. So this is their state final, and they pick obviously the top in the 3 divisions, 1, 2, and 3.
There's no New England or national?
No, they don't go on from that, no.
Committee meetings are meeting Monday, November 14th, starting at 5 o'clock. And as Mark said, 6 o'clock is the presentation by the architects on the CTE renovations. And that will be in this room. Discussion items.
Yes, Madam Chair. Contained in your packet, and up for a second reading, is the wellness policy that came out of Policy and Budget. We had a first reading on October 17th, so this would be a second reading, and if the board desires, you could approve it tonight.
Did we make
Any
any
questions?
changes between last time and this time?
No.
I do have just a couple of questions.
Yep.
The last paragraph, the wellness and nutrition policy evaluation procedure.
Mhm.
Who does that survey-based evaluation tool, and how frequently is it done?
I don't think we've ever done one, and I think it's the board's policy, so I think you can say, we want to do the survey and we'd like these people surveyed. I think it's a mechanism for you to get feedback on your food service.
So it's not if we have this policy, it's not a mandatory thing that we do on a regular basis, or
No.
it's just as needed?
Yes, yeah. The food service company in and of itself does an annual, probably a couple of surveys during the course of the year to see what's popular, what isn't popular. And so we get that feedback from the food service company also. And the students are very good about being very honest with those surveys. They've been a big help to us.
And my only other question was does our school store follow this policy?
They will be. Yeah. What we have to do is sit down and both with the food service company and with the school store and say, all right, this is the new wellness policy. We need to be complying. At the moment, probably some of that isn't being complied with, so we would, and part of it will be working with the food service company itself, because when they bid a contract, it's based upon previous sales. So if we're going to make change in products, in fairness, they need an opportunity to respond in terms of if we ask them to pull out a big seller, then so that will go on when we negotiate. Those are annual contracts with the food service company. Doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do. It's just we have to be fair about it.
Yep.
I have a question with nutrition standards. When it says that, for instance, food and beverages sold or served at schools should meet the nutrition recommendations, that throughout this policy I see should a lot, and I'm wondering how is that something that's...
Well, it should gives us a little bit of flexibility. You've
Okay.
heard these stories from other places where shalls are used, and someone brings in a cupcake and there's an uproar because it's a
Okay.
violation of policy. So should is a word that gives us a little bit of flexibility.
Okay, so that's by design.
Yeah.
All
Yes.
So just not to beat a dead horse, but I just have one other thing.
It's all right.
Under that same nutrition standards, PRHS promotes that first bullet, food and beverages, at the end it says see appendices. So we should have those attached, because I don't.
No,
think
the
that-
appendices didn't come with the policy, so that needs to come out. I'm glad you picked that up.
So where is this?
That's
Oh, I
under
see.
nutrition standards, the very first bullet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are there any other,
There were, pardon me, Madam Chair, there were about 6 or 7 pages clipped onto it that was just, it was referencing
References.
federal guidelines,
Yeah.
not law, administrative guidelines, and we clipped them all off in that process. Thank you for picking that up. We'll get that out of there.
so are people comfortable approving the wellness policy, knowing that correction
amended.
will be made? Do I hear a motion?
Yep.
You second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and abstaining? All right.
I have some good news. I wanted to just give you an update on your October electric bill. Now, years have gone by and I've never talked about the electric bill. But as you know, we did our light project this year, so I wanted to just give you a sense of the savings that we've seen, and this is in kilowatt hour usage. I don't need to read it to you, you can think. But for the,
Can you extrapolate 42,000
yeah, the...
kilowatt hours into
Sure,
dollars?
yeah. Well, if you, those kilowatt hours were about at, with the co-op, they were about at 7 cents a kilowatt hour, perhaps. The rates are going up for the winter, but it was 6.5 to 7, I think, for that month's usage. So we'll give you a pretty detailed report at the 6-month mark when we get it. But you know, to save 42,000 kilowatt hours, or 35% of our previous bill, is significant savings for us.
3,000 that month?
Yeah, and then you can see our daily average has gone from 4,100 kilowatt hours to almost 2,500, about a 40% savings. And then demand, that's where there are peak times when facilities call for our electric usage, and our demand is down 26%. So that's where significant savings is when you chop into that demand time. So we're pretty pleased. It's running ahead of what our projections were. In terms of the heating system, we are operating right now with biomass. So we're up and running, and the front is on the chip screen, and so so far so good. Everything's moving along pretty well. Propane did a great job for us for that period of time leading up to a colder snap of weather. And Mr. Francis tells me that beginning next week, 2 weeks, around the 10th, I think, those oil tanks will be coming out. That period of time, Veterans Day and over that weekend, the tanks will be coming out, and that dirt pile will disappear, because that's where the dirt's going into the hole. So then we'll be buttoning up for the winter.
That is good news, thank you. Very nice. Assessment and tax bill?
Yes, your final assessments are in. Those of you that I sent tax rate forms to, and you got a revision through the mail, Department of Ed had played a little bit with the ADMs on those of you that have sending schools, but it didn't affect the tax rate at all. It's just the breakout between the elementary school portion of the bill and the high school portion of the bill. So As you know, I think our target last year was had to have the assessment, I think it was about 3%, that we'd hoped that the assessment would be 3% or below. Your assessment ended up being 1.3350. So just a little bit more than 1.3%, or an extra $158,557. You can see how that assessment was broken out. And then if you go down underneath at the bottom of the page, you can see the impact on the local tax rates. Those are the net assessed valuations of each of the communities, Pemmy-Baker assessment. If you get adequacy, you can see the credit that you get, and then the final assessment. And so let's use Plymouth for a second. Their assessment was $2.86 million. They got a little over $1 million in adequacy from the state, which made their assessment $1.8 million. And when that's divided into the net assessed valuation of $434 million, excuse me, it comes out to $4.19 per thousand, which is down 24 cents from last year at 4.43 or 5.37%. So that's an example of how you read that, and you can see the increase to Holderness percentage-wise was the largest at 5%, and Rumney had the biggest decrease, 6.46%. But overall, Plymouth, Rumney, Thornton, and Wentworth had decreases, and a little bit of an increase in Ashland, a 1 cent increase, and then an increase of Campton and Holderness. But the big picture, the work that you do, you don't have anything to do with the assessments and things like that, but the work that you did, last year's budget came in at 1.33% increase, so that's pretty good stuff.
Any questions for Mark? Any other business?
I'm all set, Madam Chair.
Board member concerns? Do I hear a motion to go into non-public for personnel and collective bargaining issues? Peter, seconded by Maureen.